Narrator: low, steady, unsettling. Have you ever had that strange little feeling? The one that creeps up on you when you're alone in your room, or staying in a hotel, or even brushing your teeth in front of the bathroom mirror. That sudden awareness, like maybe, just maybe, you're not really alone? Now, imagine this. What if that feeling wasn't paranoia at all? What if someone actually was watching you? Every move, every laugh, every private moment, and you didn't even know it. I don't mean through a window or peeking through a crack in the door. No, I mean something worse, something smarter. Tiny black lenses tucked away inside smoke detectors, alarm clocks, power outlets, even teddy bears. Watching, recording, waiting. And here's the terrifying part. This isn't a movie. This isn't some cheap scare story. People around the world are finding hidden cameras in the places they trust most. Airbnbs, hotels, locker rooms, even their own bedrooms. Every single year, thousands of hidden cameras are uncovered in homes and rentals. And if that doesn't make your skin crawl, let me remind you of something. For every camera that's found, there are countless others still out there, running silently, unnoticed right now. Sound. Soft click, like a camera shutter. Faint static buzz rises. Think about it. That mirror across from your bed. Could it be a two-way mirror? That air freshener in the corner. Could it hide a pinhole lens? That smoke detector above you, why does it seem angled? Directly at where you sleep? I know it sounds paranoid, but paranoia exists for a reason. It's your brain warning you that something's not right. And tonight, I'm going to show you just how right that gut feeling can be. Because tonight, we're diving into 3 disturbing, true hidden camera horror stories. Stories of people who discovered they weren't just renting a room, or sharing a space, or hiring someone to help. They were unknowingly starring in a nightmare, broadcast for someone else's sick entertainment. Sound. Low bass rumble building slowly. Before we dive in, let me give you a little warning. Once you hear these stories, you'll never look at your home, your hotel room, or even your own living space the same way again. And if you're brave enough to keep watching, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around because these stories, they only get darker from here. And hey, while you're at it, turn on notifications too. Because if you enjoy true horror stories, the kind that get under your skin and crawl around in the back of your mind when you're trying to sleep, you won't want to miss what's coming next on this channel. Sound. Slow creak of a door opening. Now here's a question for you. What would you do if you found a hidden camera pointing at your bed? Would you smash it instantly? Pretend you didn't notice and play along until you could escape? Or would you freeze, realizing that someone, somewhere already has hours, maybe days, of your most private moments recorded forever? That's the kind of choice the people in these stories had to face. And let me tell you, not all of them made it out unscarred. So, get comfortable but not too comfortable. Check your walls, check your ceilings, and maybe glance over your shoulder, just to be safe. Because once you hear what I'm about to tell you, you'll never shake the thought. Someone might be watching you, right now. Narrator: calm, almost warm. It started as a weekend getaway. Just a young couple, exhausted from the daily grind, craving some peace, some privacy, a little slice of comfort away from their busy lives. They scrolled through listings online, and this one Airbnb seemed perfect. Modern, stylish, spotless. Hardwood floors, soft lighting. A cozy little balcony overlooking the city. The reviews were glowing. 5 stars across the board. Guests praised the cleanliness, the location, the thoughtful touches the host had included. It seemed almost too good to be true. And as you're about to learn, it was. The couple packed their bags, excited for the trip. A weekend escape. Just the two of them. No worries, no stress, just time together. When they arrived, the host greeted them in person. He was polite, overly polite, with a smile that never quite reached his eyes. He handed over the keys, walked them through the house rules, and then, oddly enough, repeated himself. Please don't move the furniture. Keep the lights on in the main rooms at night. And whatever you do, please don't tamper with the smoke detectors. At the time, it didn't set off alarms in their heads. Hosts could be quirky. Maybe he'd had bad guests before. Maybe he was just particular about his place. But if you've ever had that weird little twinge in your gut that says, something's not right, this was one of those moments. Sound. Distant hum. Faint static crackle. The couple brushed it off. They unpacked, cooked dinner together, laughed, poured glasses of wine. The place was beautiful, after all. They felt comfortable, safe. But comfort can be deceiving. Later that evening, as they curled up on the bed, the boyfriend noticed something odd. A faint, blinking light on the ceiling. At first, he thought nothing of it. Just a smoke detector, right? Every place has one. But then he froze. Why was the detector angled? Why was it pointing not at the door, not at the room at large, but directly at the bed? He tried to laugh it off. Weird placement, he muttered. But the thought burrowed into his brain. And once you notice something like that, you can't unsee it. Sound. A low, uneasy drone begins to build. Hours later, while his girlfriend slept, he found himself staring at that tiny light. His skin prickled. Something felt wrong. Finally, he climbed onto a chair to inspect it more closely. And that's when his heart stopped. This wasn't a smoke detector. Not really. The plastic shell was slightly off-color, and peeking from a small hole in the front was the unmistakable glassy reflection of a camera lens. Sound. Camera shutter click, echoing faintly. His stomach dropped. He woke his girlfriend, whispered what he'd found. At first she didn't believe him, but when he shined his phone flashlight up at it, there was no denying it. It was a hidden camera. Panic set in. If there was one, were there more? The two of them scrambled around the apartment, checking everything. The clock in the living room? It wasn't a clock at all. Inside, another lens. The bathroom vent? Same thing. And behind the TV, tucked neatly into the wires, was yet another tiny, unblinking eye. They weren't just guests. They were being watched, recorded. Every moment since they'd walked through the door. Narrator quieter, leaning in. And think about it, how long before them? How many couples? How many families? How many people walked into this Airbnb thinking they were safe, only to unknowingly star in someone's private collection? Sound. Heavy heartbeat. Faint distortion rising. The girlfriend broke down in tears, feeling sick, exposed, violated. The boyfriend's hands trembled as he held his phone. They wanted to run, to get out immediately, but fear locked them in place. Because here's the question. If someone went through all the trouble of setting up these cameras, who's to say they weren't watching right now? Who's to say they weren't planning something worse than just filming? As the couple frantically packed their bags, the boyfriend's phone buzzed. He'd connected to the Airbnb's Wi-Fi earlier in the evening, and now, out of sheer instinct, he pulled it up again. That's when he saw it. A live stream, running silently in the background. Their faces, their movements broadcast in real time. Narrator chilling, steady. Someone, somewhere, was watching them in that exact moment. Sound. Sudden sharp static burst. They didn't think. They didn't argue. They just ran. Out the door, down the stairs, into the cold night air. The host was nowhere to be seen. They got in their car and didn't stop driving until they were far, far away. Later, they contacted the police. And what authorities discovered was worse than they imagined. The host had been running a full surveillance network. Multiple properties, dozens of guests, all secretly recorded. Hours upon hours of footage stored on hidden servers. Most victims had no idea. Some never would. Sound. Low silence, just faint breathing into the mic. Narrator hauntingly soft. Now I want you to sit with that for a second. That couple got lucky. They noticed something was wrong. They trusted their instincts. But think about how many people never look up at the ceiling. How many people never wonder why the vent looks strange, or why the clock is pointed at the bed. Imagine how many people have lived entire weekends, entire vacations, entire honeymoons in places like this, completely unaware they were being filmed the whole time. Pause. And before you scroll down to book your next trip, remember this story. Because you might not be the only one planning it. Sound. Distant camera shutter. Silence lingers. Narrator firm, unsettling. Someone else might already be watching. Soft beat of silence, then a warmer, coaxing tone. And if stories like this unsettle you, and they should, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now, because this was just the first story. The next two, they're even darker. And trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming. Narrator calm, reflective. College is supposed to be the start of freedom. A fresh chapter. For one freshman, it was exactly that, or at least that's how it seemed in the beginning. They had just moved into their first dorm room. Nervous but excited, their parents helped haul boxes up the stairs, gave tearful hugs goodbye, and left them in the care of their new roommate. The roommate seemed fine. Friendly enough, though a little awkward. He avoided eye contact, kept his sentences short, but smiled when he shook hands. The kind of person you don't think much about. Just another stranger you're about to share a very small space with. And for the first few weeks, everything was normal. The freshmen went to classes, made friends, stayed up too late laughing in the lounge. Their roommate kept mostly to himself, but they coexisted peacefully. But then little things started to gnaw at the back of their mind. Sound. Soft, uneasy hum builds. At night, lying in bed, they felt watched. You know that strange sensation, when the hair on the back of your neck prickles, when your instincts whisper, someone's eyes are on you. That feeling grew stronger with each passing day. They tried to brush it off as nerves. A new environment, a stranger in the next bed over. Of course it felt weird, but the unease didn't fade. If anything, it got worse. Sound. Click, click, click. Faint mechanical noises in the background. Late at night, when the roommate thought they were asleep, there were strange sounds. Soft clicking noises like plastic snapping into place. Shuffling near the desk. And once, just once, they swore they saw the faint glow of a small red light flicker and disappear. The freshmen convinced themselves they were imagining things. Stress, fatigue. But denial only works for so long. One afternoon, while cleaning their side of the room, they bent down to plug in their laptop. That's when they froze. The outlet on the wall near the desk looked wrong. One of the screws was loose, not lined up like the others. And behind the small opening, catching just the right angle of light, was the unmistakable shine of glass. A lens. Sound. Sudden camera shutter, sharp and echoing. Their stomach dropped. Heart pounding, they leaned in closer. It looked exactly like the kind of hidden cameras they'd seen in news articles and safety warnings. But still, a part of them whispered, "No, it can't be. You're being paranoid. Who would do something like that?" Shaking, they pulled back. For hours, they debated what to do. Until finally, unable to stand it, they reached out to a friend down the hall. Someone who was tech-savvy, good with electronics. That friend came over, took one look at the outlet, and their face went pale. "This isn't part of the outlet," they whispered. "This is a camera." Sound. Bass drone begins, low and uneasy. Together, they carefully unscrewed the plate. Behind it, a tiny hidden camera was neatly wired into the wall. A cable ran down, snaking behind the desk, and led directly to the other side of the room, where the roommate's bed was. Heart racing, they lifted the covers. And there, taped to the frame, was a small DVR unit, blinking faintly, storing everything. Every move, every moment, recorded. Narrator low, chilling. The freshman's knees buckled. Because this wasn't just paranoia anymore. This wasn't a feeling. This was proof. Sound. Loud knock, door creaking open. They wanted to scream, to storm out. But instead, they waited. Waited until the roommate came back, so they could confront him. When the door opened and he stepped inside, they forced themselves to stay calm. They pointed at the device. "What the hell is this?" For a moment he froze, his face drained of color. Then suddenly he lunged. Sound. Sudden crash, scuffling noises. He grabbed at the DVR. Desperate, furious, hissing, "Give it back!" The freshmen resisted, clutching it to their chest. Chairs toppled, the desk rattled. Shouts filled the hallway as other students rushed to the door. And then campus police arrived, pulling the two apart, pinning the roommate down as he thrashed and screamed. Sound. Siren faintly in the distance. Later, in the safety of the campus security office, the freshmen sat trembling, their hands still shaking. Police laid out the evidence. The camera was real. The DVR was filled with footage, not just of this freshman but of multiple students. The roommate had been moving the device around, setting it up in different rooms, capturing people without their knowledge, recording them as they studied, as they changed clothes, as they slept. Narrator, voice lowering, steady. The betrayal was unbearable. Think about it, your dorm room is supposed to be your safe space, your new beginning, and the person you're forced to live with, they're supposed to be your equal. Maybe not your friend, but at the very least, not your predator. And yet, here was proof that the roommate, the person sleeping 6 feet away night after night, had been secretly filming, watching, collecting. Sound, silence, broken only by a faint hum. The freshmen transferred to another dorm after that. They couldn't bear to stay in the same room or even on the same floor. And though the police handled the investigation, though the cameras were confiscated, though the roommate was expelled, that feeling of being watched never truly went away. Narrator, hauntingly soft. And maybe it never does, because once you've been recorded without your consent, once you've seen just how easily someone can invade your most private space, you realize privacy isn't guaranteed. Trust isn't guaranteed. And if it happened to one student, how many more never even thought to check their outlets? Sound. Soft click, like a camera shutter. Fade to silence. Narrator, serious, leaning in. Think about your own space right now. Your walls. Your outlets. Your vents. How many places could a camera hide, watching you right this second without you ever knowing? Pause. Creepy thought, isn't it? Shift to warmer but unsettling tone. And if that thought makes your skin crawl, you're in the right place. Because we still have one more story to go, and it might just be the darkest one yet. So, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe right now and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming. Narrator, calm, steady. For most parents, nothing matters more than their child's safety. You can lock the doors, install alarms, even place cameras around the house. But in the end, you have to trust someone. You can't be everywhere at once. And for one young family, that trust turned into their greatest nightmare. They had recently hired a new nanny. She came highly recommended, with glowing references and years of experience. She seemed perfect, kind, attentive, eager to help. From the very beginning, the toddler adored her. She read bedtime stories, sang lullabies, and played for hours on the living room floor. Everything seemed fine, almost, because the mother couldn't shake a strange feeling. The nanny was polite, yes, professional, but she was also insistent. She would gently but firmly request private playtime with the child, urging the parents to leave the room, to relax, to trust her. And at first, it made sense. Children need independence, right? But the way she said it, the urgency in her voice, it gnawed at the mother's instincts. Sound. Subtle whispering in the background, unintelligible. The family already had security cameras, one in the living room, one in the kitchen, one at the front door. But not in the toddler's room. They felt it was unnecessary. A place of innocence, of comfort, where their child should feel safe. But after a few uneasy weeks, the mother convinced her husband they should put a nanny cam in the bedroom, just for peace of mind, just to quiet that little voice that kept saying something wasn't right. At first, everything looked normal. The camera captured playtime, naps, storybooks read aloud. The nanny smiled, laughed, and treated the child with care. But then, one night, the parents were woken by a sound. Sound. Low static hum, faint whispering layered underneath. Through the baby monitor, they heard something unusual. Not the soft babble of their child. Not the soothing hum of a lullaby. But whispering. Low, deliberate, chilling. The mother bolted upright in bed. She grabbed her phone and pulled up the nanny cam feed. And what she saw froze her blood. The nanny was crouched by the crib, her face only inches from the toddler's. Her lips moved quickly, whispering words that didn't make sense. A rhythmic, almost ritual-like chant. The child looked confused, wide-eyed, clutching their blanket as the nanny stroked their hair and whispered things far too low for the microphone to fully catch. But the tone was wrong. Too urgent. Too dark. Sound. Whispering grows louder, distorted, before cutting out. The parents didn't want to believe it. Maybe she was singing. Maybe it was nonsense. But as they watched more footage over the next few days, the pattern became impossible to ignore. The nanny wasn't just whispering. She was teaching, repeating strange phrases. Sometimes her voice grew harsh, commanding, before softening again. And every time she leaned in, she glanced toward the corners of the room, toward the cameras, as if she knew she was being watched. And then they caught something worse. One afternoon, reviewing footage, the mother saw the nanny drag a chair to the corner of the room. She reached up, adjusted the small camera they had hidden, angling it slightly away from the crib. Sound. Sharp creak of wood, metallic click. Later, in the living room, the kitchen cameras showed her subtly shifting objects in front of the lens, blocking the view, even unplugging one entirely before plugging it back in when she was done. And then came the discovery that made their blood run cold. Inside the toddler's bedroom vent, tucked neatly behind the slats, was another camera, one they hadn't installed. Sound. Sudden, sharp camera shutter echo. The nanny had planted her own. This wasn't just unsettling anymore. This was predatory. Planned. The parents knew they had to act, so they set a trap. That night, they left the nanny alone with the child, pretending to go downstairs. But instead, they huddled over their phones, watching the live nanny cam feed in real time. Minutes passed. The nanny sat calmly by the crib, humming softly. But then her head tilted. Her smile widened. She leaned close, whispering again, those same disturbing phrases. And then her hand reached up to cover the crib's tiny security light. Sound. Low bass rumble, heartbeat thumping slowly. The parents didn't hesitate. They rushed upstairs, bursting into the room. There she was, kneeling by the crib, her face inches from their child, her mouth whispering those same frantic words. The mother screamed. The nanny spun around, her face twisted in shock, then rage. For a split second, she froze. Then she bolted, shoving past them, running for the stairs. The father chased her down, but she slipped out the front door and vanished into the night. Sound. Door slams. Sirens wail faintly in the distance. It didn't take long for police to track her down. And what they uncovered was horrifying. The nanny had a history, a string of short-term jobs with families in different states. Every time she left abruptly, always under vague circumstances. And in every case, suspicions had lingered, but no one had proof. Until now, her devices were seized. Laptops, hard drives, hidden cameras. They were filled with footage. Dozens of children, dozens of families, recorded without ever knowing. Narrator, quiet, heavy. And the most terrifying part? No one knew what she was doing with it. Sound. Silence. Then a faint whisper. Shoo! The family never got answers to the questions that haunted them most. What were those whispers? Why did she insist on private time? What exactly was she trying to do to their child? All they knew was that the person they trusted most, the person hired to protect their child, was the one violating them in the most disturbing way imaginable. Narrator, soft, reflective. Sometimes the people we fear are strangers on the street, shadows in an alley, faces in a crowd. But sometimes, the real danger is the one you welcome into your home, the one you pay, the one you trust, the one you hand your child over to. Sound. Soft lullaby playing again, warped and distorted. And that thought should scare you more than anything else. Pause. Whispered. Because sometimes, the people we trust most are the ones we should fear. Sound. Silence. Then faint static. Narrator slightly warmer, drawing audience in. If you've made it this far, you're braver than most. But we're not finished yet. Don't forget to subscribe now if you haven't already. Because stories like this, they're just the beginning. And believe me, what comes next on this channel, you won't want to miss. Narrator, calm but uneasy. And that was 3 of the most disturbing hidden camera horror stories you'll ever hear. Think about it for a second. Each one of these people thought they were safe. The couple who booked a beautiful Airbnb for a quiet getaway. The college student who thought their dorm was just another place to study, sleep, and survive midterms. And the parents who trusted a smiling stranger with the most precious thing in their world, their child. Narrator leaning in, whisper tone. But safety is fragile. It's an illusion we wrap around ourselves. We close the door, lock it, and assume everything behind it belongs to us. But sometimes the walls aren't enough. Sometimes someone else is watching. Sound. Subtle click, like a camera shutter. The Airbnb couple had their most private moments recorded, memories that were supposed to be theirs alone. The student was betrayed by someone they lived with, someone who should have been a peer, a roommate, maybe even a friend. And those parents, they discovered the most gut-wrenching betrayal of all, realizing that the person hired to protect their baby was actually the threat. Narrator, somber, reflective. These stories hit harder because they're not about monsters hiding under the bed or shadows in the closet. They're about technology. They're about people. Real people. And that's what makes them terrifying. Pause. Shift tone. Curiosity mixed with dread. Now ask yourself, how sure are you that you're not being watched right now? Look around the room. That smoke detector on your ceiling, does it really look normal? The tiny hole in that alarm clock, was it always there? Even your phone, what if the camera light doesn't need to turn on for it to see you? Sound. Low static distortion, faint whispering, then silence. Narrator calm, persuasive. I don't tell you this to scare you without reason. I tell you this because it's real. Technology has made it easier than ever for predators to invade the most intimate parts of our lives. A $30 device bought online can turn your bedroom into their entertainment. And the truth is, these people don't care about your privacy. They don't care about your family. They don't care about the damage they cause. For them, it's control, power, obsession, and sometimes just sick curiosity. Narrator serious, grounding the fear. But here's what you can do. Always check your surroundings, especially in hotels, Airbnbs, or rentals. Scan for small lenses or unusual reflections. Cover your laptop camera when you're not using it. Trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Paranoia can save you. Soft pause. Voice drops, intimate and persuasive. And if you found yourself leaning in during these stories, if a part of you is thinking, I need to hear more of this, then subscribe to the channel. Because every week, I bring you real stories, true stories, that remind us just how fragile our sense of safety really is. Don't just listen once and forget. Stick around. Stay aware. Stay prepared. Sound. Soft static hum builds, like a camera powering on. Narrator slow, chilling. So the next time you check into a hotel, unpack in a dorm, or kiss your child goodnight, remember, sometimes you're not alone. Sometimes there's a hidden eye watching every move.